feeling this here.
Yeah, son, you feel it, man. What up, son? You gotta just do it, yo.
CNN.
Yo, what up, man? It's a different channel, son. What up, on, man. What up, watch the channel, son. Different plane now, man.
It's all good.
What up, all good, baby, in every hood, son. What up, yo?
CNN, Network, Channel 10. It's on again. Street niggas is grown men. Bold face, gat in your face. Stay in place, yo, crime late. Cats more beef than Scarface.
This call is now being recorded.
Channel 10, it's on again. Street niggas.
What up, Channel10podcast.com. We just gonna get right into it. We were just talking about all the race issues that are going on and, you know, going back into what's happening in Baltimore. And Sen was just talking about I guess racial identity and a conversation that we had previously about whether or not you put down black or African American, and I guess just get back into the point that you were just making.
All right. Well, when I think if you use black or African American, I think when you use the term black and put it down on some type of application or something like that, it kind of, in a way, takes away from the heritage that you do have here in America. And so and then it's just saying, like, you're black. So it's like, it's automatically just judging you by, like, literally your skin color, which we're told is a social construct. And then when you use the term African American, it kind of, I guess, it carries that Africanness as well as that Americanness. And especially when you use the term African American, it kind of speaks to the culture that the black or African American culture that has been developed here in America. And it just shows, you know, the heritage that you come from and the identity, the black identity that has been created through the Atlantic slave trade and through how your ancestors who did come here and how they helped build this country, which is something that, you know, still for some reason a lot of people don't like to acknowledge, you know. And like, for example, I made the joke a long time ago, like a while ago, when I was in Philly for that 1 week. And we were looking, I went on the tour with some people at University of Pennsylvania. And I was just looking around, and you just know how, like, if you're like in a certain place, like I guess like an Ivy League school place, or you know, I guess like what's the other place in Pennsylvania?
Drexel?
Yeah, like a Drexel, something like that. You can just feel like a certain air, or like a Howard. That's like a certain atmosphere or whatever like that. And, you know, being at the certain Ivy League schools that I have been to, there's always like a certain air, like the people who walk around and who go to the school that is breathe, it seems as if they just breathe like a certain different type of air compared to you. And when I was walking throughout like the campus at University of Pennsylvania, I was telling the people, I said, you know, it doesn't really have like an Ivy League school atmosphere. And it was funny because a lot of people agreed with me. And they say, yeah, you know, you do have a point there, because if you go like to Princeton or Yale or something like that, it's a certain type of air, but it's like really, it's more down to earth there or something like that. And I just said, like, you know, like the construction, it just didn't seem Ivy League schoolish. And I made a joke saying that, you know, like the bricks didn't have any soul in them. Which certain people didn't like I said that, but I mean, it shows that, you know, I'm sure, I don't know the history, but, you know, just black people have built shit here, that things that still exist, you know, and just from using the term black.
That the term African American encapsulates all that.
Right.
You know, it's an interesting point. And I hadn't quite thought of it that way. I always kind of looked at it like, you know, white people don't have to necessarily, I mean, you have like Italian American and stuff like that, but in general, white people have the privilege of just being labeled American, you know? their culture and everything is, you know, mainstream. And, you know, when you think of what it means to be an American, you don't traditionally think of a black person. You know, we are always looked at as the other, you know, the ones with the hyphenated name and stuff like that. So it's almost like they don't even want us here. They don't even consider us Americans. And in my experience, the only time I get called an American is when I'm talking to, you know, people from the Caribbean, and they just say, "You're American." But no white person has ever called me American, you know? So my whole thing was, you know, I'm not an African American because, you know, I've never been to Africa, though I'm from of African descent, and in America doesn't want to consider me an American. So it's like I don't necessarily feel like that title is fitting. And then I guess I felt like I kind of felt like through slavery, kind of, you know, our history was knocked out, and it's kind of like, you know, we can trace our roots back, but you know, it's hard for a lot of us to do it directly. So, you know, just black just always seemed more fitting, you know, not just because of skin color, but just because, you know, you just look back and it's just, I guess, dark, you know, because you can't see back but so far. But I guess to fit what you just said and what I just said together, recently, because, you know, like we've gone from being niggers to Negroes to coloreds to Afro-American to now, I guess, African-American. And I was listening to something, I think it was on NPR recently, about how now, I guess whoever they are, but the group that decides this thing for all of us, I guess their new decision of what we're going to be called is Americans of African descent. Okay. So that way we can be acknowledged as as Americans, and also acknowledge that we're of African descent, but not necessarily saying that we are African, but, you know, acknowledging our history here, and that black history is American history, and putting that American there first. So I don't know how you feel about that, but the way that it was, you know, described, and I guess my problems with all of the other terms that we've been called, I think that's the best one. Yeah, I think the only real critique that I heard of it is that it just has too many syllables.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's my main thing too. It just has there's too much going on. That's why I think African American is better. And you know, when it comes to, you know, I guess, you know, where, like, you know, our lineage and where we come from and whatnot, you know, we can look at St. Patrick's Day and how you have all these people jumping up and down with their green bear and shit and kilts, you know, saying they're Irish because, you know, their grandfather told them or something like that. But they don't really exactly know they're Irish, but for whatever reason, they claim that heritage, you know?
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, 'cause it seems like, I mean, a lot of people, especially, you know, a lot of Americans, since we are so-called, you know, the melting pot or whatever, a lot of people, they love to trace their, you know, their ancestry to see where their people came from. And it seems like it's just an American thing to do. So I just think that African American is suitable. I mean, because I mean, I think that's also an example of our heritage, and that, you know, we weren't exactly supposed to be here. We were kind of forced here, you know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I guess, so you say that we should stick with African American, and that should be the final thing, I guess, until everybody's all one thing.
Yeah, and that Time magazine article from years back said like 2030 or something like that. So 2050. Yeah, whatever it says. So I think we made. No, actually, no. I think much longer than that. I think we're around.
I think I don't know. I feel like even though it's a lot of syllables, I still like American of African descent for now. But I'm still kind of in the air. I even thought about bringing colors back.
Oh wow!
Just for my own personal use.
Well, I don't know. That's the thing. Like Negro and color, they're really frowned upon. I know, especially like in academia. People have called me out on using the term, which I don't see why.
You're using it in context of your research, right? And what the topic is.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. But then sometimes you have to tell them, like, well, I'm black or not. So how are you telling me how to address the people I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Sometimes I feel that way too. Like, this has nothing to do with you. This is all me right here.
Yeah, it's interesting because I guess it probably wasn't until when did the term Afro-American start getting used? Like the 70s?
Yeah, I think the 70s.
Yeah, I think that was probably the first time that we actually had a say in what we were even called.
That's the thing, but then why does that have to be Afro-American? Because then that really goes back into like physical features,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's really interesting because I wonder when you talk about the colonization of Africa itself, and how the lines were drawn on a map, and sometimes it was drawn on like a napkin at lunch for the European conquerors or whatever. How they drew these lines with these different tribes and everything that didn't necessarily, and I hate that word tribe, but these different cultural groups of people that didn't necessarily go together. So they draw these lines around it. And so, like, let's say, you might have a country like Ghana or something like that, and you have like 3 different tribes. So now they're all classified as, Ghanaian to, I guess, the mainstream white world or whatever. But, to themselves, they're whatever tribe they come from,
Yeah.
So I wonder if they might be like, and excuse my ignorance because I don't know which groups of people are in these countries, but, are people like, do they say I'm Igbo Ghanaian or, I'm Igbo Cote d'Ivoirian or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I wonder, because I don't think that we're the only groups of people in the diaspora who kind of deal with these types of issues,
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure we don't. Look at what is it, Kenya?
Mm-hmm.
Their issues, and what's the in Sudan and how it's split up.
Yep. And then you look at Rwanda and Burundi and the Hutu and the Tutsi.
Yeah, actually, that's what I meant. And then instead of Kenya, actually, but Kenya probably does too. I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know, but I will say that I think that at least here, I think it's a bit more simple. It's not as complex as it is over there.
Yeah.
Although I guess it is more complex. Once you have people. Like Ethiopians and Nigerians will come into the country and, they don't want to be labeled as black. They want to be labeled as African or something like that.
I guess we have a degree of complexity that I think has been kind of here for a while, but I think hip-hop really highlighted it and kind of furthered it. And that's the regional aspect of it,
Mm-hmm.
like if you know, accept that hip hop or, you know, rap music in particular is a black art form, and then you look at how we're African Americans, but then you have these wars like the East Coast and the West Coast, and then you have, you know, the North versus the South, and you have all these cultural differences between African Americans within America that are brought on by different ways of life, which are just, you know, brought on by various things. Like we talked previously about how the subway culture of New York influenced music versus the way the car culture of the South influenced, you know, their music. And so it's kind of like those complexities and differences within African Americans are kind of highlighted through hip hop, I believe, sometimes. And I guess it shows that, you know, as much as they try, and they being, you know, the mainstream media or the mainstream American consciousness, as much as they try to classify African American as one monolithic group of people, you know, how much we're really not, and how dealing with those struggles creates, you know, I guess, growing pains within African Americans.
Yeah, you know, I never thought of it that way. I mean, but I think you can do that with you know, other genres too. You know, like in Chicago, and they're like the Chicago style of blues, and Memphis.
Yeah.
How they're different. But I don't know. I mean, you know, you can go to any different region and notice certain things, you know, whether they be black or white, the people and how they move around or something like that.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess, you know, to take it to like a bigger question, it kind of makes you think, like in 2015, what is an American, you know?
Yeah, that's very true.
Because I think that, you know, at a time, kind of the traditional thought of an American is like a Southern Texas good old boy, or, you know, some type of cowboy Western type of thing with a certain way of speaking. And then, you know, then you have the New York version of an American, and I wonder which one people across the world kind of equate to America, because, you know, America is a world unto itself. It's so big.
Yeah, I mean, well, there was, you know, the time when I told you in LA when that professor, she pulled me and my roommate at the time aside, you know, after, you know, because we kind of told her about our experience in the elevator when it came to these Japanese people who were there for some type of summer program to, I guess, to learn English. And the way they react, I mean, well, actually, the way all of them reacted to us, because we had a lot of them on our floor. And, you know, she told us that you gotta understand that, you know, the way America is, you know, portrayed around the world is portrayed as, you know, these white people who still like living like a picket fence and shit like that from the 50s and 60s. And they don't really know that black people are actually here, although they know, but they just never really seen them. And especially, you know, if you had, because we both had hair, and then, you know, we're rather tall too. So you see these big blacks. So she just said, just imagine you come to America and think about all the, you know, she said, think about all the stuff that you heard about from the 50s and 60s about how great it is. Huh?
I feel like Leave It to Beaver and Andy Griffith.
Yeah. I think she did say Leave the Beaver too. I think she did say that. And then you just come here and you're like, wow, I want to learn English. And next thing you know, you're in the elevator with these two dark men with this hair over their heads, and they're way taller than what I am. I don't know if she had to put the taller part in there, but I saw her point.
I guess the imposing stature of the black man in the elevator.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, but you know, it is interesting, you know, like especially since, you know, the way the civil rights, you know, how Martin Luther King did, you know, like did his things with like the dogs and his group rather, and how you know, they wanted it to be all over like all over the TVs all over the world. And it's funny how we still have to, like, I guess America is still portrayed in a different light. And I guess in a classical sense, I guess if you want to call it that, compared to I guess the '60s when they did see what was going on here.
Yeah, I think now they're I don't know, like, oh yeah, I meant to tell you, I guess maybe I'll find out soon, you know, how we're perceived, because I just got my passport today. It finally came in the mail. But like, I think they're seeing it again because of, you know, the internet and news media. And I said this before, like, especially here in Baltimore, like, during the whole thing with the riots, you know, you had people from the Russian television service, and you had people from CCTV, which is the Chinese news service, and you had Al Jazeera. Like, they had reporters here on the ground that were broadcasting back. And then, you know, there was that whole thing of when one of the spokespeople for Iran said, you know, you criticize us, talking about Americans, but, you know, look at how you treat your minorities.
Yeah.
And I think I saw recently, it might have been like Iran's supreme leader or something like that, says something like Black Lives Matter. So,
nope.
You know, I think certain countries are definitely highlighting the unrest, which is now, I guess, people are coining it with the new term, the Black Spring. You know, like the Arab Spring.
Yeah, so they're just highlighting America as the Black Spring.
I mean, for right now, I mean, because, you know, you look at, what was that, like last summer or two summers ago when all those Arab countries, people revolted and overthrew the government. And it's like now, you know, you have all these protests and, you know, a riot here and there that's happening, and it's weird because, you know, people are paralleling it to, you know, what's going on over there. And now, you know, they're calling it the Black Spring. Maybe they should call it the African American Spring.
I mean, yeah, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, America has been like in this militant type of protest vibe for almost like 7 years. You know, because pretty much, you know, you had Occupy Wall Street that was around for a good while, and then once that died down, then it kind of for the most part went straight to Trayvon.
Yeah. Yep. And then it just kept building and building, and it was to the point where I don't know if you remember during the protests in Ferguson, people over in Palestine, they were, you know, tweeting in solidarity with the people in Ferguson, and they were tweeting out tips on how to deal with the officers when they hit you with the riot gear, and, you know, what to do when you get tear gas and all that type of stuff.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, I don't know, like the Chinese proverb says, you know, may you live in interesting times, and this is definitely interesting. You know, people like my mother say, you know, they never thought that they would see something like this again.
Yeah, I mean, I never thought I would see it this early, at least.
I mean, I predicted this years ago. I don't know if you remember.
That's what you did about the revolution was coming.
Yeah.
Cause, I don't know. I mean, it's just, you know, when I was in college and, you know, just talking to various people, and they were always, you know, saying, you know, you on that shit, and, you know, niggas don't own that no more. You know, niggas don't care about it. Niggas are doing good now. Like, someone actually told me niggas are doing good now. This is what's like frustrating about this, like what's going on. Like after all this shit, me struggling with these ideas and just how I felt being in this island of niggas half the time, and now look what happens. I wonder what they're saying now. They're probably not saying anything. They're probably just protesting, and then afterwards they go back and they go back to that church and the mosques and shit like that, just like how people did here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I do think that people are on different levels, and I think it's important to remember, like even back in the '60s when King was doing his thing and organizing and mobilizing people, that was like not representative of of all black people at the time. A lot of black people at the time, they did look at King as a troublemaker, someone who was coming to that town to rile things up and cause havoc. White people and black people, thought that for their various reasons. And so, and then you might have had people who were for it, but didn't participate as much as people who were like right in there in the mix of the action. And then you probably had people who were in the mix of the action who maybe didn't understand, they might have been marching, but, maybe they didn't necessarily understand, the whole philosophy and, everything that was going on. They just wanted to, be a part of it because they knew something was going on. So I think it's kind of similar here to where you have like a small group of people who, really research and organize and are up on everything and know what's going on and all of that. And then you have various degrees of people who are, I guess, aware and participating under that,
Yeah.
And I think when history, looks back at this time, maybe 30 years from now, it might appear that black people across the country were up in arms and, fighting for this revolution and stuff like that when, at this time now, we know now that, there's a wide spectrum of different views on what's going on.
Oh, yeah, that's very true. I mean, even looking at our own family and how, I'm not sure about your mother, but, my mother told me that she wanted to be a Black Panther. She went to, I think one or two of the meetings, and she was thinking about communism and shit like that. But, our grandmother sat her down and talked her out of it.
The dirty C word.
Yeah. That's very true. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just, I guess like I've been saying for, over the past 2 episodes, that I hope it's not in vain.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I guess one of the common views is that those 6 officers wouldn't have even been charged if the shit didn't go down the way that it went down here. So I guess that is one, hopeful point that, it didn't go down in vain.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's hopeful. I mean, that's enough for me for right now, I guess. We'll see how everything unfolds.
Yeah, I mean, it's like how we were talking off air, and we know that Baltimore is small enough to literally burn down in a rather short time if it really wanted to.
We could have a Great Baltimore Fire Part 2.
Yes, yeah, that, in the Great Baltimore Fire, the city has been in flames before. Yeah, so, that's interesting. Because, at one point, how Baltimore, I guess in the 19th, 18th century, it was like a really big city. And then I guess by the time the Baltimore Fire came, that was around the time when it started to decline. And then, they brought in racial zoning laws, which were pretty much the laws that damn near every other state based their laws around on when it came to how to deal with like this influx of black people around the time of the Great Migration. And then, I guess after the fire, it just went straight downhill for the most part, kind of, sort of. And now, I guess since Baltimore is becoming more prosperous, I guess in a way, then like the riot happens, or just when Baltimore is starting to like try to get like back on its feet, then this happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we have to be careful about using a certain type of language because, when you say when Baltimore is starting to get back on its feet and is more prosperous, that's a very confined area, which is like, I guess right now all the development is focused on, Harbor East and, Fells Point and all that type of stuff, which is really, really, really nice. And then, you drive up Park Heights or, up Pennsylvania Avenue and some of those back streets around there, and, it has a third world country-ish type of look. Like if you look at, a third world country on the movies and like, the way everything looks all run down and stuff, there are definitely some neighborhoods that look like that here.
Yeah, well, I guess when I do say prosperous, I kind of mean it, as in quotes, but I mean, over to me personally, if you go back 7 years ago, every part of Baltimore just fucks. And because, and I think it was like a meme that maybe you sent me or someone sent me, and it said like, Baltimore before the riot and after the riot. And it was just like the same.
Yeah.
And so that's what I mean. I guess if you want to be political, you want to go about what Stephanie Rawlings Blake said, that you got to kind of do it from the business standpoint, and then prosperity will eventually come to everyone else. Although I don't exactly believe that all the way, but I guess it's a step in the right direction because, when, I was 10, Baltimore just fucked up all the way around. The harbor was shitty. People were always getting robbed around the harbor. You go back on the west side around Penn North, it was just shitty. And Penn North was the same as it always did. At least something got some type of shine in the city. I don't know.
That is true. And it's funny the way you put that about the whole business aspect of it, because that sounds like it's funny because, Stephanie Rawlings Blake is a Democrat, and what you just said is basically trickle down, good old Republican trickle down economics, which I will say there's definitely a point to it. But I do think that it can be spread out a little bit more,
Oh yeah, most definitely. I think that too. And I think didn't we talk about I guess the political atmosphere of Baltimore like 2 episodes ago or 1 episode ago about
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, and how when Baltimore has been so immersed in, I guess, democratic the ideals of the Democratic Party that they started looking Republican. And this is what she said there was a clear example. And because everything she's doing is based around business, the Grand Prix, even like the farmers market, and how she allowed food stamps to be worth like twice as much. And so pretty much she's like, all right, if we want to give you niggas these food stamps, then you're going to have to come and start eating better, so y'all can keep on working when we fix Harvey Easter. That's how I saw it when that came out. And then, her thing about the 10,000 immigrants over like 10 years or something like that.
Yeah. I do, I don't know, I guess this isn't like a popular thought, but, I do commend her for some of her initiatives and some of the risks that she took, I guess with the Grand Prix, because I feel like sometimes you just have to try things and just, just go hard with it, and maybe it'll work and maybe it won't. Even though that whole thing was just horrible for me. Trying to get around on the bus during that was just, oh man.
Yeah, I see your point, but there are certain things you just shouldn't do. Like, if I'm a mayor of a weird city like Baltimore, the last thing I would think about bringing to the city is a Grand Prix. Because and I think I read some type of article in the Sun a while, around the time when it happened, and they were talking about how, the streets aren't built to have these weird cars, just just doing what it's doing and stuff like that, and that's going to cost the city more money. And I think it was the Grand Prix.
It probably was, but I think the whole thing was she was trying to get some money because, they had to fix or, they had to do something to the streets to get it ready for the Grand Prix, and somehow that was supposed to fix the streets and refortify them, spreading out in other areas too. Whether or not that actually happened, I don't know, but driving around, I don't think it did, because the condition of the streets, the potholes are just tremendously horrible.
Oh, you're talking about the the Orange Cone project that she had or has?
I vaguely remember that.
Okay, well, remember whenever you come over my house and then they repaved the whole street?
Yeah.
Yeah, so now I'm thinking maybe the money came from that. I'm not sure though.
I think some of that though might have been stimulus money from the bailouts that came from the federal government to the state and then to the city, to where to put people back to work they were doing this infrastructure type stuff so people could get those construction jobs. But some of that might have been the Grand Prix money as well. I'm not sure. But it didn't do much. Drive up just the main thoroughfare like Liberty Heights, and it is a rough ride. As soon as you cross, no pun intended. But it's interesting because I always find as soon as you cross the county line, you don't have to deal with that anymore. Even on a highway, I might be riding in the city on I-70, and it might be kind of rough and bumpy and stuff. And as soon as you get to that part where it says "Welcome to, Baltimore County," all of a sudden the ride is so much smoother.
I always I asked in high school, I asked my U.S. Constitution teacher about state lines or any type of county line or something like that. And I asked him and he didn't really have the answer though. When you see the sign to saying "Welcome to Baltimore," when you pass it, where is that line? Is it right before you pass that sign? Is it after you pass the sign? What is that exact point?
I was thinking about that the other day actually, because I was riding up Bel Air Road, or riding down Bel Air Road, and it said, and I was coming from the county into the city, and it said "Welcome to Baltimore," and I remember, I forget the name of the street, but I was looking on the map for what exact street where the county city line was, and I believe that the sign was before the actual street where the line was. So I'm not sure if that's the case in all cases, and it kind of doesn't make sense to me, because why would the county allow a city to just put a sign for their city in their county? And we're paying for that with our tax dollars to have it there. But the sign was a little bit before you get into the city.
Okay, because Well, my teacher, he said that it just really depends on how they do it. So he said that, you know, it could be right. It could be like, you know, a good while before you even pass that sign that you're already in that area.
Yep. I've seen that before too. Now I think about it.
Oh, well, were you pulled over or something, and then they like this, like some county law shit on you?
No, it wasn't that. I just remember when you cross over, and because like sometimes they have more than one sign. So like I remember when I used to go out to Pennsylvania a lot up 83. There used to be like there was a point where you knew that you were crossing over into Pennsylvania, and you drive up a little bit more, and it says "Welcome to Pennsylvania."
Okay.
Like with the nice sign with the flowers or whatever they have or whatever.
That's interesting. You know, it's funny, like, you know how, like, you know, when you're, like, when you're driving up way past my dorm and you see, like, the welcome to the Park Heights community sign?
Yeah.
You know how those Park Heights people are. So I wonder if you're just walking, right, and you're just, like, right there before the sign, you know, like, it would be funny, like, if they actually, like, look at, like, the actual lines that you got to cross to actually be in that territory.
I mean, yeah, that's a good question.
You know, I mean, I'm sure, like, if you're just there, and they happen to be coming around, you're just like, yeah, nigga, you're in our spot. Like, what you doing around here? And you just be like, whoa, I haven't passed the sign yet.
But it's interesting because, you know, on the other end of Park Heights, there's that invisible sign, or that invisible line across Northern Parkway. And, you know, one side of Northern Parkway, you're in Jewtown, and the other side, you're in Negro Town.
Oh, yes, right. Yeah, that Park Heights was mad weird. Especially those folks.
I mean, Baltimore City is mad weird, and like, you know, when I have people come down from New York, they always are like, it's crazy because one minute you'll be in like the worst ghetto imaginable, and then the next minute you're driving through like some type of forest, or like, you know, big houses and stuff like that.
I mean, well, I guess New York isn't as bad as Baltimore, but I mean, you can take a look at Harlem.
Oh, yeah.
Harlem is so fucked up right now.
I guess that comes with, I guess that type of stratification of a small area comes with gentrification.
Yeah.
In Brooklyn as well.
You know, yeah, actually, yeah, it is. Like that whole Prospect Park area.
Yeah.
And how it's like right kind of like it seemed. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but it seemed like the art museum was like kind of like in the middle of everything. It's kind of in between, like I guess like the rough area and the nice hipstery area.
Yeah. It does seem that way. But then you look at a place like, I guess, you know, when I think of Queens, it's kind of like the pockets of rough poverty, and the pockets of the nice area, the lines are more, you know, delineated. So it's like you're not necessarily just driving up one street, and it just goes from like hood to nice to hood like 3 times before you're, you know, a couple miles up the block or up the street.
Yeah. No, it's one thing I will say about Park Heights, though, is that, and I think we've talked about this, like, over the years, is that for whatever reason, they have, like, a really nice welcoming sign. And why is that? Like, so it's all right. You think it would be beat up by, like, you know, at this point?
They keep that sign up. I don't know. I mean, maybe they replace it every, you know, so often or whatever. Or maybe it's a sign to come of, you know, a change that might be happening in the next couple of years. Because I remember, when we used to live in Waverly, and it was pretty bad when I lived around there, and it had a really nice sign. and now, you know, the area that I lived in, it's not really bad at all.
Yeah, man, like
an apartment building where that was a drug house, and they knocked down some stuff and put up a grocery store and got all kind of trees and white people riding bikes and jogging.
yeah, man, like when because when I went to the farmers market with y'all that one time, that was like my first time I actually like stepping foot in that area. For I don't know how, like, I mean, I would drive past it, but like stepping foot in that area, I'm like, God damn, it's changed.
Yeah,
and
it's
you know,
a really different feeling than when I used to live around there.
Yeah, like I never thought that, you know, I would ever go to that place again, like, you know, walking around it and coming and stepping out the car, people would be looking at us or looking at me. So that was really interesting because, you know, you just kind of fit in, you know, back in the day, in a way.
Yeah.
Damn.
You knocked down the stadium, they put that nice YMCA up there and everything.
And see, that's the thing, like, whenever, you know, like here, when I talk about, you know, when people want to talk to me about Baltimore, they talk about how beautiful it is and how beautiful downtown is. And I'm always thinking in my head, you know, are they talking about, like, the new downtown, or are they talking about, like, the old downtown from, you know, 2000, late 90s? I have yet to ask, though.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a good question.
But then I know
there's a changing right in front of our eyes.
Yeah, see, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, yeah, a lot of shit has changed, and you know, I mean, come on, my Darman. I mean, at this point, the way it's changed, the only thing that they haven't done is put that movie theater in that they've been talking about for so long.
Yeah, I mean, I do see the signs of the TGI Fridays are supposed to come there.
What? Oh no, why are they doing that?
I mean, maybe they won't now, but I mean, the TGI Fridays up Reisterstown is ratchet enough.
And man, that's the last thing they need, like, because we always say, like, a movie theater will just be the worst. Just imagine a TGI Friday.
I mean, it would just be bananas. 92Q is going to be broadcasting live from there, like, every night.
No, that's right, yeah, because they wouldn't go into the Applebee's on Route 40 anymore.
And, yeah, and then, yeah, so 92Q is going to be there. It's going to be like, you got to have ID and be 21 and over after a certain time.
Oh, man. I don't know.
That's cold.
Yeah, and I don't know, man. They shouldn't do that. But then I think that it kind of takes away from the aesthetic of Mondawmin, that it really wasn't, you know, like, Mondawmin has never really been like a mainstream mall to a certain extent. Because even, like, you know, certain stores that they had in there, they were like really kind of like mom and pop stores, so it just had that Baltimore feel. And they've been slowly but surely taking away that shit with, like, the Target, although it is very convenient. Yeah. And you know, other things too that have come into the store. Like, I mean, come on. For the subscribers and the listeners, if you guys go back to episode 3, Pimp Juice in Your Mouth, how would I have been able to tell that story if it wasn't for the random store that's always been there for years, right there at the back on the second floor? You know?
That's true. But I guess before our time, you know, Mondawmin, I was about to say McDormand. Mondawmin did have, he used to have anchor stores and stuff like that at a time, but it's interesting how it's able to thrive without that. But, you know, apparently that's like the highest grossing mall in the country, and, you know, I've spoken to people who aren't from here, and they come here a lot of times just to go to Mondawmin.
Yeah, no. Do you remember, like, the Combat Jack episode when they were talking about Air Forces and how Premium P? Yeah, he said, yeah, he had to go all the way back, all the way to Baltimore to get this one color, or whatever he was talking about.
Yeah, because Air Force Ones, they were made in Baltimore, I believe, or something like that.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, they had like that big, what is it, like the 30-year anniversary of Air Forces here or something like that.
Yeah, happened. They redid the mall for that. And I took a picture. They had those. They had like these $10,000 pair of Air Force Ones with like gold aglets on the shoelaces.
Oh, that's what they called?
The tips of the shoelaces.
Yeah, I never knew they were called aglets.
Yep, aglets.
It sounds really medieval for some reason. Yeah, I don't know why.
It probably is if you look up the etymology.
But then I know that my dorm didn't have a roof or whatever like that at one point.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Grandma used to tell me that it didn't have a roof. My mother, she told me too. But I don't know. They never answered my question though. What if it rained? What would y'all do? Like, what would the mall do? And from what I can recall, no one has ever answered my question. So now I'm starting to question if it was really like that or not.
Unless it was like some type of open air type mall, but I don't think it ever was, because they didn't start making those until like way later.
Yeah. And then even the name Mondawmin, how it comes from like a Native American god, it's crazy enough to me.
It's interesting. I was always wondering about that name, and I figured that it had something to do with Native Americans.
Yeah, I think I think you're the one who reminded me about it when you sent me that thing.
Oh, maybe I did know. I'm getting old because sometimes I forget things that I knew.
Yeah, because I think you hit me up specifically some years ago, and you said that my dorm is based around some Native American god, and I said and you reminded me of it, and it's some like corn god or something like that, god of corn in some Native American culture, and I don't understand why it is. And actually, that's right, because it's something about, I think the person, because my dorm, it used to be like some type of plantation or something like that, or some big mansion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was called, See, all that shit see, this is why African American is a perfect term, so people can be reminded of that type of shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird, when you drive through an area and you try to envision what it was before, what it is now. And like when you look at the names in the streets and it's like, how did this street or how did this area get this name? Like, you're in the middle of Baltimore City, why is there a place called Mondawmin? Like, who was Mondawmin?
Yeah, or Marketplace.
Yep.
And but I think the arena, I think that's where it's one of the places where they would auction slaves off. But I know that where the arena is, that's called the Royal Farms Arena for whatever reason. That's where that was like the capital for a time when Washington and then they had to leave Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah.
And supposedly there's some type of what do you call it, like a plaque commemorating that, but I've never seen it. Have you ever seen it?
I haven't. I just knew that the capital was here for a brief period of time.
Yeah, no one ever talks about that either.
That's crazy, just all the history that we just don't know.
Yeah. I mean, even I guess the Star Spangled Banner and how I guess around the time the War of 1812 and how the Port of Baltimore was a really big thing for the British to to maintain and take.
Yep, and Francis Scott Key wrote that poem that was eventually set to the music of, was it an Irish bar song about drinking?
I believe so, and see, there you go, the heritage.
Yep.
It's funny though, because Did you ever come to the Historical Society to see it?
I didn't.
So, oh, that's right. But it's funny, it's funny how when you hear about these things and how like they're talked up so much, and then when you see them, it's like just a piece of paper writing on it, and it's way smaller than what you imagine it to be.
Mm.
So I always
did it fill you with a feeling of pride and patriotism?
No, it didn't. Although because Francis Scott Key, he did have slaves at one point, I believe, but then after a while he like sold them or something, and then he kind of became like a civil rights, like one of those early like civil rights type of lawyer people, and he would fight cases with slaves, I think. But he supposedly came from some big slave family or some shit, of course. Although it's not surprising. At this point, whenever I see a white person, I just assume that, their ancestors probably they owned slaves. It was a regular thing. Yeah,
that is true. Even though the point was made to me recently that, because I think I said that, and it was said to me that, a lot of people came over here through, a lot of white people, they ended up here through like Ellis Island, and they were immigrants and stuff, like way after slavery. I was like, yeah, that's true.
That is true. It's not really, well, I guess it is talked about quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, so it's like, I think, that's something that, we kind of tend to forget, even though a lot of times, people came over here, they still had advantages that, we didn't have, because even though they might have been in a messed up situation, they didn't have to deal with Jim Crow.
Yeah. And I guess even with, like the slaveholders, that was very much so a minority, man. The great majority of white people, they weren't slaveholders.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
I was disturbed earlier. I haven't looked into this yet, but I saw something. Now, mind you, it was on In Flex We Trust, but it was from today. Apparently, a black man in Georgia was found hanging from a tree.
I'm not surprised. Remember the thing about Mississippi? Now, do you know if that was true or not?
Which thing?
Just like a month ago or so, some guy was like reportedly found to be like he was found, to be hanging from a tree.
I do. Was that in Mississippi? Or was that in New Jersey? Because I remember something like that in New Jersey.
I think it was Mississippi. My mother she kept talking about it for a while.
I don't know if they ever decided whether or not he was hung from a tree or whether he committed suicide. That's what they were trying to say, that he committed suicide.
Okay. But there's always been at least like one or two like lynchings every here and there all throughout the years.
That's true. Oh yeah, I see the news story. I see the news story here from myfoxatlanta.com. It says investigators with the GBI, which is the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, I never knew such a thing existed, said the man hanging from a tree in Greene County, Georgia, Monday morning was previously questioned in a homicide investigation. A spokesperson for the Greensboro Police Department told News Radio 106.7 Natalie Pozo that a 43-year-old African-American man was found hanging from a tree just after 11 a.m. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation said Roosevelt Champion III was found dead in a brushy area behind a home in the 600 block of, guess the name of the street? I guess the name of the street that the man was found hanging on.
Black Street.
No, not Black Street.
White Street.
Not White Street.
Alright, I give up.
Martin Luther King Jr. Drive.
My God. Oh, man. You know, I will say one thing about the Boondocks. I will say that they kind of got it right when they did that episode about Martin Luther King, what he would think about what's going on now.
I mean, you know, even if this wasn't some type of racially motivated thing that happened, just for a black man to be hanging from a tree in a brushy area behind a home in the 600 block of Martin Luther King Jr. Drive in 2015, like, it's just mind-bogglingly ironic, to say the least.
Yeah. I mean, well, I don't know that, you know, all these, the Black Power movement wasn't that long ago, so.
That's true.
I was legally playing with that shit.
Speaking of that, I believe the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March is going down in October.
So what was the second one? Was that like an anniversary, or they were just doing it again?
That was like the 10th anniversary, I believe, in 2005, or, yeah.
You know, what's the point? And, you know, I think Al Sharpton was there. Oh, you did? Was Al Sharpton there?
I don't even remember. It was kind of like how when we went to the anniversary of the March on Washington, like, you're so far back and you can barely hear people speak. And
yeah.
It was kind of like, I guess for me at the time, it was more about the actual march down there than it was kind of hanging around. So we walked from Howard University campus down there with a whole group of people, and we all had on our shirts and all that. And then afterwards, me and the people I was with, we went to TGI Fridays.
Yeah. I was about to say, I was going to say, did y'all go to TGI Fridays?
You did.
You know, what was that even for? What was the first one for exactly? What did it accomplish? What did it do?
I don't know. I'm sure it did something, man. Give some people some credit.
Oh no, I have to think about these things.
You know, maybe it got some black people to see Washington who never would have gone there before. And they were all together in solidarity for the minister.
Yeah, as I just said, it was a way for him to remain relevant. Well, it had about 400,000 attendees. Well, actually, different people. Almost 1 million, some people say.
I mean, 400,000 is almost 1 million.
So it had Ishmael Muhammad, of course, Benjamin Chavez, Martin Luther King III. I didn't know that. Oh, Maya Angelou, Rosa Parks, Reverend Jeremiah Wright, Senator Aldebert Bryan, Senator of the Virgin Islands. All right. Really? That's interesting. Oh, Jesse Jackson, Louis Farrakhan. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know.
I wonder if Pastor Manning is going to make an appearance at the new one.
Man, Pastor Manning has been doing his thing outside of damn, I was about to say, no, The car, I was about to say BWI. Outside of the, damn, BMW, shit. BMW.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see his latest on video?
I didn't see it, man. What did he do and say now?
Oh, no, man. You know, he's doing a 36-hour protest outside of the BMW thing.
And why is he doing this again?
To get rid, so they can stop supporting MSNBC, who supports Al Sharpton. Because they protested outside of like Giant Restaurant, which is literally looks like a hole in the wall. And based on their protesting, based on what Pastor Manning says, he got them to stop supporting NBC. And so now they're moving and because of that, now he feels like they had momentum to go to BMW. And they had like a song about firing Al Sharpton or something like that. And because he, like, I think for the past 2 days he hasn't like put anything. Well, I guess he only does it on weekdays. He hasn't put like any type, anything. I guess snippets from like the Manning report on his YouTube page, but then that appeared, and he was just walking people through like the protests and stuff like that. And it looks like he had maybe about 20, 30 people. And they had like a whole a whole sound system damn near. They had like 2 or 3 different weird vans and buses that that people were going to be sleeping on and eating on and stuff like that. So.
Well, I just Googled Al Sharpton versus Pastor Manning. First thing that comes up is Al Sharpton, King of Scum. Second thing that comes up, Al Nappyhead Ho Sharpton. And the third is Al Sharpton is Obama's nappy-headed hoe. So I don't know if these are biblical terms or what, but get your money, Pastor Manning. You got quite a hustler. You got quite a hustle going on.
That's the thing. I mean, I don't know if I speculate. I'm pretty sure he probably doesn't have like a really large congregation, but I mean, I'm assuming that he has like different donors all throughout the country that probably support him because it's strictly off of the fact that he doesn't like Obama.
Yeah, and gays.
Yeah, and gays, man. Like he keeps going in on him. Like these like the sermons, some of the sermons they put up, they tend to be like around gay people, and he tries to like go into like the like the biological functions and all this other type of stuff, and like he's a scientist, and people actually listen to him.
I mean, he has a PhD.
Yeah, I guess so. What is his PhD supposed to be in anyway?
Some type of theology or something like that. He created his own institute, the Atla Institute or whatever, and that's where he got his PhD from.
Oh man!
I remember I saw that when I was looking at his Wikipedia page, and I was like, hold up, this guy created his own school and gave himself a PhD. And then in his interview with the Young Turks, he pointed that out.
Oh, actually, I had yet to see that. What did he say about that?
Oh man, what did he say? I don't remember what he said, but he had some type of thing. I think they said something about it not being accredited, and I don't remember what he said. Probably something about the Lord and whatever.
Yeah, well, there's some type of like university that's supposed to be opening up around Penn North or something like that.
Wow.
I walked past it. I mean, maybe that it's not happening no more, especially since the riots, but they kept saying like it's in development, and I have yet to see anyone start to develop the area, but some type of, like, I guess some church university or something like that. You can get degrees from. And you know, it's probably like, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7 doors down from everyone's place.
I know that various you know, conscious brothers and sisters, I think they started their own schools and universities and stuff like that. So I don't know. Maybe it's one of those, or maybe it's going to be accredited or something like that. That's really interesting. You know, my mother told me the other day that Sojourner Douglas College is closing down.
You know, because of are they losing money?
Yeah, I think it's like a financial thing.
Okay, well, I mean, I really only know about them through the commercials. But I guess that wasn't really good enough for them to get people.
Yeah, I mean, I think they did like a lot of like nursing type stuff. So.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I mean, you would think that would be popping. You know, everyone's becoming a nurse nowadays.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. It's a private institution of higher learning with an Afrocentric focus, headquartered in Baltimore.
Oh, no wonder it's closing down. See, because it's just how, like, the person I told you saying, she really said that. Niggas is good now. That's why. Because niggas is good now, that's why. Exactly why that thing is not prospering the way it's supposed to.
Oh, it's set to lose accreditation in June, according to the Baltimore Sun. It could close in June when it's set to lose accreditation, in a rare move spurred by the private nonprofit institution's persistent financial troubles.
So I guess one thing that you have to have in order to be accredited is have money.
Yeah, I think for a school to be accredited, a lot of it has to do with how they manage their finances and stuff like that.
Well, you know, I can see that. I can see why that's a big thing.
Yeah, because you don't want, you know, these schools just taking people's money and all that other type of stuff. But then at the same time, you know, I'm anti a lot of government mandated certifications and things of that nature, because, you know, the things that are going to be accredited are the things that are approved and, you know, thought to be right. So, you know, you could be getting like some type of education that may not be considered to be mainstream, but, you know, might be right and accurate and all that type of stuff, but it won't be accepted.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, it's not seen as accredited by the powers that be.
Yeah, I mean, well, shit, even the accredited institutions aren't even seen as accredited in certain circles. Unfortunately. Yeah, I've experienced it. Do you have a timer on?
I don't, but we should probably wrap this segment and come back with some hip-hop talk.
Yeah, alright.
Alright, so that's part one of this episode. I think we should call it N-Words is Good Now.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
I think that's what we'll call it. Alright, peace out, peoples. We'll be right back.
Peace.
Feeling this here. Yeah, son. Feel it, man. Word up, son. You gotta just do it, yo. Yeah, yo, word up, man. Different channels, son. Word up, on, man. Word up, watch the channel, son. Different plane now, man.
It's all good.
Word up, all good, baby, in every hood, son. Word up, yeah.
CNN, Network, Channel 10. It's on again. Street niggas is grown men. Bold face, gat in your face. Stay in place, yo, crime lace. Cats more beef than Scarface.